A German expert on humor. That's funny. It's outrageous, isn't it? Well, give me 15 minutes of your time and then decide by yourself. I just had a great mental training, so I definitely will have fun the next 15 minutes. I once was sitting in a plane. In front of me, a very nasty businessman. Unfriendly, arrogant, not worth my time. A sweet flight attendant rather caught my attention. You have to know I'm not very good at flying. So he came to me saying, "You look quite pale, madam. I bring you a Prosecco in a second." I just immediately fell in love with this flight attendant. He asked people to fasten their seatbelts, put their luggage into the overhead compartment, and went to this nasty businessman saying, "Sir, your cases must go upstairs." Nothing happened. He continued organizing pre-flight, went again back to this guy saying, "Sir, your cases must go upstairs." And the guy just shouted at him, "Shut up, you fag." And we all stopped breathing. And the reaction of the flight attendant was so great because he just said, "Fag or no fag, the cases has to go upstairs." And we all burst into laughter, applauding the great reaction of the flight attendant. This man wasn't harassed for the first time because of his homosexuality, I'm sure. And as long as we call people fag, we have something to do on the discrimination agenda. I wouldn't call somebody a heterosexual idiot, so why should I use homosexuality for insulting people? Why should I insult people? But that's another talk. For this was a very funny German flight attendant. And the opinion attributes very little sense of humor to us Germans. I decided many years ago to embark on a journey to discover it. And of course, you expect but a humor expert to be funny. On the other hand, you don't need to be depressive to be an expert on depression. So my daily job indeed is not to be the funniest girl in the room, but rather to help my clients to be more at ease in everyday situation. My name is Eva Ullmann, and I founded the German Institute of Humor, and humor indeed is my full-time job. I'm living in Leipzig, but originally I'm coming from Anhalt-Bitterfeld. We need quite a lot of humor right now there, as we just heard from Henning. So for me, of course, humor is more than funny. Nothing for us Germans is just funny. Everything has to have a purpose. So does humor. Well, let's see. My mother tongue is German, as you can probably hear. So I have to ask you already for forgiveness, because humor in a second language is much more difficult than humor in your mother tongue. But don't let the fact that English is my second language keep you away from joining me on a journey through the universe of humor. Please excuse my English, but it might be better than your German. By the way, the Germans are really good victims to practice on, so please use tonight to practice your humor. If the German gets the joke, you're really good in telling jokes, because it's not easy to make us laugh. And on the other hand, we have a really bad reputation on always explaining the punchline of a joke, again and again. So let me share this story with you. I once get in a public transport bus in Berlin. You have to get in front to show your ticket. So there's mostly a jam of people in front and nobody, fast empty spaces in the back. This day, the bus driver immediately got us moving by saying, "All passengers wearing clean underwear, please move towards the rear of the bus." And of course, everybody just moved, and I had to laugh. So I want you leaving this room tonight knowing that even the Germans are improving on humor. And that's great news. By the way, what's the difference between an introverted engineer and an extroverted engineer? An introverted engineer is looking at his shoes talking to you, an extroverted engineer is looking at your shoes talking to you. Humor has several advantages, even in the second language, even for Germans. It's attracting attention, de-escalating conflicts, and managing change. Let me walk you through two great German examples from the last years. Let's start with the Berlin city cleaning. This campaign says, like at home, just bigger. For nearly 20 years, the Berliner Stadtreinigung is working with humor to change people's minds towards trash. Keep such a big city cleaner, such a big city like Berlin, clean. At the World Athletic Championship, even the bin wasn't easy to reach. Sending dressed-up bins to festivals is just one of many crazy and really, really great examples. This is the first case. The second case is from the city marketing of Bielefeld. Bielefeld is a city even the Germans don't know where it is, most of the time. So there's a nasty joke since the 80s saying Bielefeld doesn't exist at all. And the city marketing is playing quite a while with that. So if they have festivals, they have food that doesn't exist, famous people that doesn't exist, great places to visit that doesn't exist. And in 2019, they even offered €1 million to whoever can prove that Bielefeld doesn't exist. And it had a great resonance. A lot of emails, videos were sent in. About 2,000 people were sending in stuff to prove that Bielefeld doesn't exist. Nobody won. But they had a great effect and really great results. You remember, Germans always count the results. So they had nearly 5,000 articles in press and media in Germany and different countries about this project. At least 78,000 people visiting the landing page. I call that quite a result for a city that doesn't exist. So when did you last wrap your important information into humor? For your talk, for your presentation, for your email, so that people follow your instructions, or at least read at the end of your bloody email. If you have eaten enough, slept enough, know whom you're currently sleeping with, then humor mostly is easy peasy. Not for the Germans, but for the rest of the world. As soon as the situation gets stressful, we first are irritated. Second, we stop breathing, like I did with the flight attendant. And third, the so-called Stone Age behavior kicks in. And humor techniques help me and other people to overcome Stone Age behavior. But how does that work? A pretty clever guy called Rod Martin observed several humor styles used by people. Make it measurable, and we Germans are in, you know that. So let's start with the self-enhancing and the self-defeating humor. Self-enhancing humor means to be amused by the incongruities of life, to maintain a humorous perspective even if you have to face stress, to cope with difficulties. Self-defeating humor means to use a lot of self-disparaging humor, to amuse others by jokes of one's own expense. I've obviously done a lot of that about the Germans' lack of humor. Affiliative humor, when we come to humor used with other people, family, colleagues, friends, we have affiliative humor versus aggressive humor. Affiliative humor means to do funny things, tell jokes, amuse others, reduce interpersonal tension. It's a very non-hostile, tolerant form of humor. It enhances group cohesiveness. And that's quite something we need sometimes. Aggressive humor, as the name said, is a very offensive form of humor. It's criticizing, manipulating. That's not good or bad. As long as you're okay and I'm okay, we don't have to choose between these humor styles. As soon as Stone Age behavior kicks in, the stress kicks in, it's very clever to choose between these styles. So what does it mean practically? You get up in the morning, go into the bathroom, and look into the mirror. I don't know what you're thinking, I don't know you that well, but you think something. People with self-enhancing humor take the mirror off, right on the wall, you look great, and start into the day with a smile. People with self-defeating humor look into the mirror thinking, well, I don't know you, but I will wash you anyway. Imagine being in a meeting, somebody drops something. Affiliative humor would say, well, it's so great how good you are in letting go. I have to practice that in my meditation class for years. Aggressive humor more tends to say, well, holding things together at your age is not that easy, isn't it? And you mostly can listen to laughter. If there's affiliative humor in the room between friends, you laugh, hee hee hee, ha ha ha. If there's a lot of aggressive humor in the room, mostly people tend to laugh, ho ho ho. So it's funny, but somebody is ashamed by something. Everybody has to face stress from time to time. At my home, stress begins very early in the morning. My child doesn't want to eat, he doesn't want to get dressed. My husband wants to bring him to daycare. He comes in saying, I cannot take him to daycare, I have to jump immediately in the meeting. So I start snippering at my partner. I'm in the middle of Stone Age. He leaves the room, comes back, and puts on a bike helmet, saying, things are getting quite dangerous here. So I put on some protection, nobody gets hurt. And I just have to smile. I have to laugh. It's still stressful, but I'm more at ease. I overcome Stone Age, and he helped me. And that's a great move between affiliative and aggressive humor. So affiliative, self-enhancing humor makes myself and other people look good. Self-defeating, aggressive humor puts myself and others down. As I said, as long as we're all okay, that's no problem. I don't have to choose. But in the middle of Stone Age, in stressful situations, tough negotiations, it's pretty clever to be able to choose between the threatening and the relaxing effects of humor. So humor can attract attention, de-escalate a conflict, and manage change. And the biggest change process we all have to face will be the end of our life. Woody Allen once said, I'm not afraid of dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens. So the florist eventually will push up the daisies. The air condition technician will assume room temperature. And if you run a cleaning service, you probably also one day will bite the dust. But until then, humor techniques help us in dangerous situations. Let's talk about humor like a medication. In a tough negotiation, a physician is talking to a patient short before an operation and anesthesia. If you're a manager with 80 very different staff and have to lead them through a very stormy change process, humor can destroy a lot. Or you can use humor protective and sensitive. And I'd like to share this experience with you. So let's leave this boring cliché, Germans don't have humor, just behind. Let's move forward. Let's use humor by purpose. Let's exchange about the effects of humor in Germany, all over the world. And my last wish for tonight, my last sentence, and it might be my last will, at the end of my life. Let's use humor more to unite than to separate. Thank you.